Hello, kids, and welcome to Tidwell Middle School and welcome to World Cultures. This is your teacher, Coach Anderson, and I really wish I would be able to be here today with you on this first day of school. I know that you came to school expecting to meet all your teachers, and one of your teachers isn't here. But my daughter's having my grandson this morning, and in my family's very important, so she wanted me to be home to meet my grandson, and so that's what I'm doing today. But I will be at school tomorrow and basically almost every day after that. So trust me, you will get to know me pretty well. This video is just an introduction into a couple different things about world cultures, about this class. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about you, or I'm hoping to learn a little bit about you after this video. And then together, we're going to learn about y'all. And y'all really includes me too, because when you're in my class, we are all together learning together. So the y'all is more of everybody. So let's get right to it. A little bit about me. Believe it or not, I was once a little kid too. I was born in 1970 in California. And for those of you that are really good at math, you could maybe figure out how old I am. And this is my attempt at a smile. Back then, I think I was maybe 7 years old when this picture was taken. So this was taken in the 1970s, and believe it or not, they did have cameras in the 1970s. However, I grew up, and in 1981, I was a sixth grader, still living in California. But back then, unlike for y'all, we didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have cable TV. The only TV we got was we had a black and white TV, and we had a color TV that sometimes worked if the weather wasn't bad. If the weather was bad, then you really couldn't tell what was on the TV screen. And otherwise, we just played outside a lot and did stuff like that. We're rarely ever inside because it was kind of boring to be inside. And living in California, the weather was usually pretty good, but we still found ways to keep ourselves entertained. But yeah, there was actually life before there was cell phones, computers, and cable TV and all of those things. In fact, the only time we ever got to watch cartoons was sometimes on Saturday morning, if you got up at 7, you got to watch cartoons for an hour. And on Sunday, if you got up at 7, you could watch cartoons. Otherwise, it was just adult shows, and everybody watched the news every night at 6 because that was the only thing on any of the 3 channels that were available. Now, this is me in 6th grade. Of course, I grew up and I went to high school, and I still lived in California, but I also lived in Texas and Maryland for brief periods of time when I was a little kid. But this was my 9th grade picture, and I lived in the desert in California. And of course, as people do, I grew up even more, and I moved from California to Virginia. That's where I graduated from high school. This is my high school graduation picture when I was 17 years old. I was a little youngster graduating from high school. And I promptly moved to Colorado, to Gunnison, Colorado, to go to college right after high school. So I started college, and I moved out of my house when I was only 17 years old. And was I a little bit afraid? A little bit afraid, just maybe like you guys are coming into 6th grade for the first time after leaving elementary school. But the thing I realized, thing I've always known, is that even if you're afraid, sometimes you just got to do it. Even if you're afraid, it doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means, okay, I will figure it out. And of course, I figured it out. Now, I was in college. I loved living in the mountains, and so I lived in the mountains for a couple years. This is a picture of me when I was in my 20s in the snow in some mountain outside of Gunnison, Colorado. And then I grew up, and this is me taken in Canada a few weeks ago. I drove up there with my wife, and every time I get an opportunity, I go up to the mountains somewhere. Sometimes I might even drive to West Texas where there are some mountains, but usually I drive much, much farther. And in the end, my wife and I go about 13,000 miles or so every single summer, and we almost always make sure that we include some mountains and stuff in the mix, because if you've ever been up at 14,500 feet, there's something about that you just want to keep doing all the time. So here's my family. This is my wife, my beautiful wife. She's also a teacher. She works in Fort Worth at a high school in Fort Worth, Texas. And then this is me, and this is at Lake Lorraine in Banff, right outside of Banff in Alberta, Canada. And these are our kids. This is our oldest son, Johnny. He's in the Navy. He lives in California. This is my daughter, Miranda. She lives here in Fort Worth. She's the one that is giving me a grandson tomorrow. So I already have a granddaughter, then I get a grandson. Then this is my lovely daughter, Kendall, who's a little bit younger than Miranda. And then my son, Hayden. And then my daughter, Isabella. And Isabella is the only child that I still have left that is still in school. She's a senior at high school, and she goes to high school at the same school that my wife works, which is pretty nice. They kind of like being together, and that works out really well. But I'm sure some of you all have some pretty big households, and that means that there's a lot of action going on, sometimes a lot of sharing going on, a lot of cooperating going on. So you might work well in an environment where we have to share and cooperate. There might be some of you that don't have a big family, and maybe sharing and cooperating is something you're going to have to learn. But that's part of growing up. That's part of being in school. That's part of being in middle school. So we're going to learn all of those things, and we're going to kind of treat this classroom just like a family. Here's a couple of things that I like. I like a lot more things than this, but things that popped into my head. I like moose. If I ever drive around, I always love to see a moose because they're pretty hard to see. I tend to see more bears than moose. And I saw 2 moose this summer, which was pretty cool. And I saw 1 moose about 4 years ago in Utah. So that's pretty nice. If you can see a moose, that means it's going to be a good day. I like coffee, particularly black coffee with not even any sugar in it. Nice and hot and fresh. That gets my morning going right all the time. I like iced tea, unsweetened iced tea. I don't even need a lemon, just a lot of ice to keep it cold, and that's going to be good for me. Once in a while, I will eat fast food, just like everybody else. And if I do, I usually go to Chick-fil-A, where I get the spicy chicken sandwich with no pickle. It's pretty tasty. Or if I feel like a burger, I go to In-N-Out, and I get the In-N-Out hamburger with nothing on it, just the meat and the bun, because I don't like ketchup or mustard, or pickles, or lettuce, or tomato, or any of those other things. So, pretty plain. But I do like chocolate, so a plain Hershey's bar, it will always make my day brighter. Maybe a full size, or maybe a small one. Either one, I'll be pretty happy. And I do like sports when I get a chance. I used to like them more and more when I was a younger kid, or younger adult. Nowadays, I follow whenever I can, but I did live in Tallahassee, Florida when I was in college for a little while, so I like the Florida State Seminoles. And my first game was the San Diego Chargers, so I will always be a Charger fan because the first game I went to was in 1983, and that was at the old stadium that's no longer there in San Diego. And another thing that I love to do is hike and climb and do anything in the mountains. And so I've climbed quite a few mountains. I've climbed some of the highest peaks in the United States, and every year I climb 2 or 3 more mountains. And even if I have a 3-day weekend, sometimes I'll go somewhere and climb another mountain. So if I come back to school after a long weekend sunburned, you might want to ask me what I climbed, and I'll probably show you some pictures and tell you some cool stories. So finally, a little bit more about me. This little map here shows you the places that I've lived. I was born right here on the coast of California at this place called Point Hueneme. And then we moved to this little town in California called Lemoore. There was a Navy base there. My dad was in the Navy, so we moved where the Navy told us to go. From Lemoore, we moved all the way to South Texas, and we lived in this little town called Beeville, Texas, where they have a Navy base. And then from Beeville, we actually moved to the other coast. We went to this place in Maryland called Patuxent River. And then from Patuxent River, my dad had to go onto a ship in California, so we moved all the way back to California, back to Lemoore in the Central Valley. Then we moved to this place in the desert in California called China Lake. And then from China Lake, we moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia. That's where I graduated from high school. And then when we left Virginia Beach, Virginia, we went to Orlando briefly, but then I went to Colorado to go to college. Then from college in Colorado, I went to Florida State, or Tallahassee in North Florida. And then from there, I moved to Phoenix, lived there for a couple of years. And then I met my wife in Phoenix and decided, you know what, let's go to Texas. So here I am in Fort Worth, Texas. So some of you have probably also lived in a lot of different places, and there's a lot of value to that. I was a new kid in school a lot of times, many times in the middle of the year. Was it ever fun? Nope. Did I get through it? Yep. Do I wish anybody else to have to do it? Nope. But sometimes you will, and guess what? You'll be fine. Even doing anything new, like being a brand new 6th graders, you will be fine. So that's a little bit about me. Now, I'm going to tell you a lot more about myself as we go through the school year and everything. When I come in tomorrow, so don't worry, I'm not here today, but I will be here on Thursday and Friday. The primary thing we're going to do on Thursday is to get our Chromebooks. Most of you have used Chromebooks before if you've been in Northwest, so that's something that you'll be used to, but we'll spend a little bit of time doing that, a little bit of time logging in. But I am going to go over some of the Tidwell things. I'm going to talk about IDs. I'm going to talk about what we do in the classroom, how we use the restroom. If you have to go, do you just get up and walk out, or do you get a pass, or do you ask me? We'll go over all of those things and probably more. And if you're seeing this video before advisory, you're going to have a nice Zoom from Mr. Martin. I believe Mr. Martin's doing the Zoom. And that'll give you some instructions about the other things that we make sure that we do here in Tidwell, because being a Titan is not just being a middle school student, it's being really the best possible middle school student. So however you think you are, we will make you better. Even if you think you're awesome, we will make you better. And if you have any self-doubts, we will help you with those as well. So being a Titan is great. Being on this team is a great place to be. Now, what I need you to do, and you'll do this for about 10 or 15 minutes, thereabouts, and when you get done, you're just going to hand this in to the instructor or the guest educator, and she may give you some different instructions. Depending on the time, she might actually have you share some information with the people around you. But I basically want you to go through this handout. Of course, you're going to put your name nicely so that I can read it. Your birthday, I need the year, figure out how old you are. Then I want you to think about these, like what are your favorite foods, your 3 favorite foods, if you can eat whatever you wanted today. What are your 3? Then I want you to draw a picture of your favorite animal. Not a stick figure, but as best you can draw. If your favorite animal is a moose like me, you'd have to draw antlers and stuff. Your 2 favorite songs, what are they? You'd probably have a bunch of favorite songs, but if you had 2 that you only got to listen to forever, what would they be? Then draw a picture of yourself eating your favorite food. So what could that be? And it's a little picture of you hopefully smiling. Then I want to know what your favorite subject is, what your least favorite subject is, because we'll make that one of your favorites eventually. Then I want you to draw an illustration of your favorite sport, people playing that sport or some symbol of that sport. Then down here, I want you to list 5 things that make a good teacher. So if you think you want me to be the best teacher, what 5 things would I do, or any teacher for that matter, that would make me great? Then down here, put your favorite color. And then over here, you're going to say what makes you awesome, because every one of you is awesome in your own special way. What is it about you that makes you awesome? Then down below, you're going to draw a picture of what you want to be when you grow up. If you want to be a lawyer, draw a lawyer. If you want to be a football player, draw a football player. And in this last one, you're going to draw a picture of what scares you. There's something that scares you. It might be a clown. It might be a weasel. It might be a mongoose. It might even be a little butterfly. Whatever that is, draw a picture of what scares you. If you get done with some time left, your teacher might have you hold on to those and pick a partner and share. The idea for this is for me to get to know you, but also for you all to get to know each other, because there's going to be some things that are similar, that several of you put the same things. You might some of you might like the same songs or the same foods. You might have the same favorite or least favorite subject, but there's also going to be some things that are different. And what we're going to find in this class, and particularly world cultures, is that understanding the differences among people is what makes the world a fun place to be in. We're similar in a lot of ways. What's cool about us are what makes us different. So that's kind of what this is designed to do. Let's check out what makes us different. That'll help us as we look at cultures and places and people all throughout the world. Now, I'm going to end this video right here. I'm going to let you get to work on this handout. I will see you tomorrow, and I will give you a fair warning. There's going to be a seating chart tomorrow, and we're going to practice a few things with that, but I'll get into more detail about that later on. And if you have any questions about this sheet, ask the guest educator. I think you'll be able to handle it. Have a really, really good first day of school, and I really look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Y'all take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.